Leeds United's transfer news keeps getting more and more complicated, sort of, with more and more updates coming out every single day from all kinds of sources. So in this video, I thought I'd take a little bit of a deep dive into what has been said over the last day or so on a couple of little deals that I think are quite interesting, including the Jurgen Strand Larsen stuff. Because there has been an article from, and a lot of people are going to go, ugh, but the Daily Mail, because they had a tendency to be quite good on Leeds United stuff, and then that sort of evolved into there being less good at Leeds United stuff. But I thought I'd have a little bit of a dance through what's been going on with Jurgen Strand Larsen stuff and some other targets that have been mentioned by both that article and some other places. So stick with it and let's see how it goes. And I've also learned that apparently popping a like on the video really helps it get pushed out to other people, because Jer did an experiment on one of his videos. I'm going to do it on mine. Just chuck a like on it. I'm going to ask early this time, and then that'll really help. Anyway, diving into it. So the Strand Larsen update is from the Daily Mail, and the note is that there is growing confidence from Leeds United that a move can be achieved, specifically in this window, which I thought was a little bit of a big shout. But then I took a step back from it, and I thought what the wider context sort of indicated. And it's kind of positive for Leeds at the moment, because the idea was that Strand Larsen was being offered out to a variety of Premier League sides, because Wolves would rather cash in now than they would in the summer, because that way they get a little bit more money out of him, puts them in a better financial position. They don't have to sell as much in the summer because they've made more now. It makes the sort of drop down easier given PSR. So, had a little bit of a look through what the other clubs are doing at the minute, and it's sort of heading in our direction. Nottingham Forest had a little bit of a link with Strand Larsen earlier on in the window. They are now instead signing Lorenzo Luca, who is an Italian forward, who I used to sign on Football Manager quite a lot, and he's a fairly good player, according to FM. That might have changed in the past 2 years since Football Manager 24 came out, but we'll find out. And in addition to that, there's a little bit of a rumour floating around that Evan Guessond will be on the move as well, to another Premier League side. But Premier League clubs are slowly but surely filling up their squads, which is working very much in our favour at the minute. West Ham signed multiple forwards, Forest signed forwards. Crystal Palace being one of the bigger sort of rivals here if Mateta is to go, and to go to Serie A. A big reason for Mateta being unhappy, by the way, is because he is one of Palace's lower end earners for some reason on 55 grand a week, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But if he's towards the lower end of the amount of money that is being earned by Crystal Palace players, that's insane. He's probably one of their best talents. But instead of looking at Strand Larsen, they are linked with Siddiqui Sharif, who is a player that is also for some reason linked with Wrexham at the moment. Imagine being Siddiqui Sharif and being like, could go to Crystal Palace, who are in the Premier League, or I could be on a Disney Plus show. And the fact that that is an attraction to some players is blowing my mind, but we'll keep rolling anyway. And in the event that that doesn't work, they're also being linked with a striker by the name of Jeff Akatar, which is quite an interesting one. And I don't think he's anywhere near the level of Strand Larsen or Mateta, but I feel like Crystal Palace are sort of being run in an insanely bad way at the minute. So it's going to be quite fun to see where they end up at the end of the season, hopefully below us, and it'd be very funny to see if that ends up in the relegation zone. Also, if they end up with Glasner in the role at the end of the season, I can see that split getting worse and worse and worse. There is a rumour that Palace have opened talks with Jurgen Strand Larsen, but that seems like a sort of loose thing in a, like, oh, they've had a conversation with the player's agent, but that is the sort of thing that happens in the opening stage of any transfer conversation. And the amount of players that we have opened talks with and I have discussed on this channel have been insane that we haven't ended up signing. Like, I need to talk about it because it's in the conversation and part of the news, but that doesn't really indicate anything massive is imminent. It just sort of says, well, they clearly have an interest, they're going to try and take things forward. He'll be on their list, is the simpler way of putting it. But Leeds do have a laundry list of other targets and other positions, which I thought was interesting, because it's not just going to be the number 9 spot. Daniel Farke's press conference yesterday, there was a little bit of conversation about other positions, a little bit of talk on the centre-back spot with Leonard Ngenge. Is it Ngenge or Genge? Because Metcha is a silent M. N, sorry. I'll find out. I'll make sure for future reference. But Leonard Ngenge being sort of mentioned and being like, well, we won't push him too hard because he's brought in as an under-21 signing. We don't want to force him into the senior setup, which is the smart thing to do for Daniel Farke. Add to that the fact that Jakobiol is making more progress than we initially expected. It's looking like a centre-back will not be one of those immediate-term signings. In terms of left-back, we were asked what's going on with the depth there. Farke mentioned Sam Byram and kind of said, well, he can do that, and Willie Gnonto can play as a left wing-back. So whilst it's not ideal having the depth not be as deep as we want it, given given an adductor issue for Gabby Goodmanson right now, things could be significantly worse. In essence, Daniel Farke keeps mentioning that he doesn't want a group that's too big, but there have been a couple of names that have been mentioned in the past day or so that I would feel remiss if I weren't to mention. One of them being the WONDERKID that I mentioned in the thumbnail and in the title. This guy is genuinely a ridiculously talented footballer. From everything I've been able to read about him, the issue is he's in the position where you can't read a ton about him yet because he's a very, very young player. His name is Archie Holden, and you wouldn't guess where he plays. Salford. Yeah, that one threw me a little bit. He's been named as a player that we are linked with, but it's a situation where, like, we've kept an eye on him for a good while. We're just waiting to have the opportunity to sign him because he is very, very young. Like, I cannot emphasise how young this guy is. He is a playmaker that's currently in their under-17s, under-18 side, but he currently fits the under-16 age group because I was able to find this by going through many, many relatively old posts, and 48 weeks ago he signed for Salford from a local club's under-15s, therefore now I'm assuming under-16s unless he was already over-promoted into the under-15s. At the very least, he's under the age of 16, he might be even younger than that, it's very, very hard to say. Creative midfielder, sort of very, very good at playmaking. I had a look at a couple of match reports for Salford's youth sides, and he's the kind of guy that is just creating goals whilst playing beyond his age group, which is always a very positive thing to see, and it's good that he's pointing in the right direction and will hopefully find his way to Leeds United. The other player that Leeds are reportedly linked with, this one came from Sportsboom. Sportsboom, not often the most reliable, but they're weirdly good on African football. I had a little bit of a dive into some of their sort of African football conversations, and they are quite good at that. And Leeds are reportedly linked with Chukwu Nardi, I believe, who is a Nigerian 22-year-old defensive midfielder who would seemingly offer some quite good cover for Ethan Ampadu, for Ilya Gruev, for those sort of players. He's a kind of guy that would offer a little bit of depth, a little bit of opportunity for future growth in addition to that. Like, at the moment, we've got Gruev, we've got Ampadu, fine. But Gruev, you can't see getting any better. Whereas if this guy's currently at the level of Ilya Gruev, he went to AFCON with Nigeria, got some minutes, and there's room for him to improve, being just 22 years old. That, I think, is going to be a fairly wise move if we end up doing it. He has been a big part of Zulte Waregem, who are currently playing in the, what's it actually called? It's the Belgian Pro League. It used to be the Jupiler Pro League, but the top division in Belgium. He's a fairly significant part of the way that they are going this season. He helped them get promoted last year, and currently they are 10th out of about 16 sides, which is not a bad place to be, and a lot of that has come from the fact that he is a very, very solid player that is a significant part of that survival fight. In essence, right now the squad is in a good place. Daniel Farke doesn't want it to balloon out of control. He specifically mentioned, I don't want about 30 players, because that means leaving people out and people getting upset, and that's very, very annoying to have to deal with. But we are looking at key targets. It looks like some players might go out if players are to come in, but it'll be interesting to see what goes on there. Like, there's a chance that we can just unregister Ilan Melia. There's a chance that Joel Piroux goes out. There's a chance we can just unregister Alex Cairns. Plenty of stuff that we could do. Very excited to see how this final week and a bit of the window goes. And I'll keep doing videos and live streams throughout. Ideally more live streams, but that depends on my sleeping pattern entirely. I'm recording this at 6:27 in the morning because someone only got to sleep at 5:20. That was fun. Anyway. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, pop a like in it. That's massively appreciated, as mentioned earlier. I think that was this take at the very least. Subscribe if you're not as well. Become a channel member. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Toodaloo.